Tonight, the extraordinary sight of a burning man running from a crime scene after crashing into a shop.
Hiding in our suburbs, the police hunt for an armed offender on the run.
Inflation falls to a 3-year low while we're being told it's all an illusion.
The AFL deal that'll mean more WA games.
Tributes for the young boy run down and killed in his school playground.
And the luxury arrival at Perth Airport as a multi-billion-dollar transformation takes shape.
Live from Perth, 7 News with Rick Ardon and Susannah Carr.
Good evening. We begin tonight with extraordinary pictures of a man on fire running from a Perth vape shop.
Just seconds before the fiery explosion, the man had driven through the front doors, sparking fears Australia's tobacco wars have moved west.
Pedalled down right through the front of a Midland vape store. After forcing entry to douse the shop in petrol, this arsonist cops a fiery surprise. The blaze erupting too quickly, sending him fleeing in flames.
The unknown male may have suffered burns to his arms and face, and it's possible that he sought medical attention either hours afterwards or even days afterwards.
The fire in the early hours of last Friday caused $500,000 of damage. It's alleged the Nissan Navara was stolen from a home in Averley 19 days earlier. Police are on the hunt for this man, calling for anyone who recognises him to come forward. The brazen act follows a string of suspicious fires in local smoke shops. Detectives now questioning whether Australia's tobacco wars have moved west.
That forms part of our investigation. We haven't ruled anything out.
For the businesses here that were also damaged in the fire, recovery is still months away. But speaking to 7 News today, one shop owner said they're thankful for the community support and that they are all determined to reopen.
These kinds of acts are deplorable. We don't want them to occur in our community, and we will do everything we can to investigate them and bring these people to justice.
The heat now on this bumbling arsonist in more ways than one. Nick Overall, 7 News.
Another police manhunt for an offender believed to be armed with a gun has now entered its 28th hour.
Ken Lilley was believed to be hiding out in our northern suburbs, and that's where the police operation has been focused.
A heavy presence remained around Nowergup last night after the 39-year-old evaded officers yesterday. It left a police vehicle damaged, another crashed into bushland. Armed tactical officers trawled through bushland as a helicopter searched from above.
Tonight, there's still no sign of Ken Lilley. The police hunt is ongoing, but detectives have been keeping a low profile. Ken Lilley is considered dangerous. It's believed he's wanted over an armed robbery, assault and car theft. Rachel Tasker joins us live now. Rachel, police now believe he may also be linked to a bushfire.
Rick, police are investigating if Ken Lilley lit a fire in Nowergup to evade officers who were hunting him down. A bushfire started in dense scrub after Lilley ran away from police. The fire was contained quickly, but the hunt for the wanted man continues. If you see Lilley, do not approach. As we heard, he is dangerous and could be armed. The advice is to call police immediately. Sue?
Rachel, thank you. It looks like borrowers will have to wait for a mortgage cut, despite Australia's best inflation numbers in 3 years.
The annual rate slowed to 2.8% in the September quarter as energy and petrol prices tumbled.
But economists say the Reserve Bank won't cut yet because the figures aren't what they seem.
A plea from mortgage holders: don't move the goalposts.
People feel fed up.
Prices barely rising in September, bringing the annual rate of inflation within the target band the Reserve Bank said would trigger rate relief.
We're saying it's time for the RBA to cut interest rates.
Not so fast.
The headline rate has been brought down almost artificially
by government power rebates and lower petrol prices.
Temporary subsidies will not hoodwink the Reserve Bank of Australia.
Our policies, including our energy rebates, are making a meaningful difference, but they don't explain all of the moderation in today's figures.
The Treasurer banking the win.
Inflation is back in the band. We are on track for a soft landing in our economy.
But a slow one with no rate cut this year.
The clawback in spending is being acutely felt at Australia's largest supermarket, Woolworths, today issuing a profit warning.
The fresh food people not so flush, revising down its profit for the first half of the financial year as customers hunt for bargains.
When they're on sale is always good.
They're switching to lower value items, which reflects or impacts the profitability.
Do you feel like you're spending less each shop?
Yeah.
But not every customer is as cost conscious.
We're buying ice cream.
Do you care how much the ice cream costs?
Say no. No.
Amelia Brace, 7 News.
There's some significant breaking news in the AFL world that involves Fremantle, West Coast and our southwest region. And Ryan, a big change to the fixture is coming.
Rick, Sue, this is a landmark deal that will see North Melbourne play 2 games a year in WA, home games, for the next 3 years. And one of those games will be in Bunbury each season. The WA state government, the AFL and North Melbourne are set to sign the agreement delivering financial relief for the Roos and fixture relief for Fremantle and West Coast. Now here's how it'll work. North Melbourne will travel to WA in the middle of next season. They'll stay for 2 weeks and play 2 games. They'll host West Coast and Fremantle, with one game to be played at Optus Stadium, the other in our southwest at Bunbury's Hands Oval. And that's the key to this deal, as it ties in with WA Tourism promoting direct flights from Melbourne to Busselton, with Kangaroos fans expected to make the trip west. The game at Optus will see them earn North around $1.2 million. The state government contribution for the Southwest game will take North's purse over the $2 million mark per year. And the deal will be signed for 3 seasons, starting next year, locking in 6 games and more than $6 million for North. It'll give the Eagles and Dockers an extra game in their home state, 1 less week of travel, something Fremantle CEO Simon Garlick has been fighting for in recent months with the help of Eagles CEO Don Pike. Now, I believe this is the most significant development we've seen for our WA teams in regards to the fixture since the Dockers entered the AFL. The Roos get paid, the Eagles and Dockers travel less, and WA footy fans get more footy. Guys, it's win, win, win.
Fantastic.
Thanks, Ryan. Interesting times ahead. Thank you. There are tributes tonight for 11-year-old Jack Davey, who was killed when a car smashed into his Melbourne schoolyard during pickup. His death has left his community shocked and heartbroken. 4 of his friends injured in the crash are facing a long recovery in hospital.
Jack Davey's heartbroken grandmother thought he was safe inside the schoolyard, but he wasn't. The 11-year-old's family, friends and community are struggling to comprehend his tragic death.
I have no words, to be honest with you. They're the most beautiful family.
He was sitting with friends when an out-of-control car veered into the group of grade 5s. 4 children were seriously injured, police describing the crash as a tragic accident.
My daughter saw little bit something and she's keep telling me I saw blood.
Today we're learning more about what happened in the lead up to the crash and the woman behind the wheel. 7 News has been told her children also attend the primary school. It's understood the mother of 3 recently got her licence but has a clean driving history.
Official investigations have been commenced by Victoria Police.
Before the crash, the 40-year-old driver was called to the school for a 2-hour meeting. But what happened when she was behind the wheel is still unknown. Jack was a talented young athlete. He played indoor soccer, basketball and football. From his club, it is with heavy hearts and the deepest sadness that we try to process what has happened. The tragic events yesterday have impacted so many in our local community. A community united in grief for a little boy lost. Cassie Zervos, 7 News.
Calls for Anthony Albanese to be investigated by the anti-corruption watchdog over his relationship with Qantas have taken a sharp turn tonight. It's been revealed the watchdog's commissioners are all members of the airline's chairman's lounge themselves. The Prime Minister tonight insisted he's never called Alan Joyce seeking an upgrade.
Keeping the faith. Labor ministers out today searching for a miracle.
I'm just focused on my day job.
Standing by Anthony Albanese.
How solid is Cabinet support for him?
Oh, completely solid.
Amid allegations he solicited free Qantas upgrades from Alan Joyce dating back to 2009 when he was Transport Minister.
Isn't that unethical conduct?
I don't believe so.
I actually think this whole matter is a really significant beat-up.
That is a clear breach of a ministerial code of conduct.
The coalition threatening a referral to the corruption watchdog.
What were the circumstances around the Prime Minister's decision to not allow Qatar Airways into Australia? Reduced competition and therefore has held up the prices of airfares for too long.
Since then, 7 Labor ministers have been upgraded by Qantas. Even watchdog commissioners are members of its chairman's lounge themselves.
It seems that everyone's a member of the Qantas chairman's lounge except me. Why don't they offer me a membership? I'll do anything you want.
The Prime Minister insists this is not a story, but months out from the federal election, the optics aren't good. The gift of the grab, failing to pass the pub test.
I think it stinks. I think it's pretty typical of most politicians. Probably vote for someone else.
Isabel Mullen, 7 News.
A driver accused of a hit-and-run crash that killed an elderly man on Mitchell Freeway says he thought he'd struck a kangaroo. Costantino Mastrolembo was on trial over the incident in 2022. Cassidy Mosconi has the details from court.
Costantino Mastrolembo is accused of hitting an elderly cyclist on his way to work and leaving him on the side of the road to die. Prosecutors say 86-year-old David Kirby was likely killed instantly, his head colliding with the car windscreen before catapulting off his electric bike onto the Mitchell Freeway in October 2022. Confronting images of the scene were shown in court. Mr Kirby's grieving family emotional in the back of the room. The state says Mastrolembo knew he hit him and kept driving anyway. Security vision has him arriving at work exactly on time. The jury heard when he got there, he called his work's insurer, telling him, "I hit a kangaroo on the way in and it damaged the car." He took photos and even filled out an insurance claim detailing the collision. But the jury heard he wrote that it happened some 16 kilometres away in Neerabup, going 68 kilometres an hour. Prosecutors say that explanation is a lie, and willful blindness is not a defence. Mastrolembo's lawyer told the jury it would have taken less than a tenth of a second for David Kirby to be projected onto the windscreen and catapulted into the air. He says his client was not on drugs or affected by alcohol when he looked into the rearview mirror and didn't see a thing. He said he honestly believed he hit a kangaroo. Mr Mastrolembo, can you tell us if you truly believe you hit a kangaroo? DNA evidence will be key to the case. The state says Mr Kirby's hair was found stuck in the car's windscreen wiper. A piece of his bike lodged beneath the vehicle too. Cassidy Mosconi, 7 News.
Kamala Harris has delivered her closing argument to the American people as she fights to become their next president. The Democratic nominee chose a significant location to draw comparisons between her leadership and her rivals. US Bureau Chief David Woiwod reports tonight from Washington, D.C.
Against a presidential backdrop.
Good evening, America!
A power move by Kamala Harris.
We are not going back.
To reclaim and redefine a location tainted by violence 4 years ago.
He is the person who stood at this very spot nearly 4 years ago and sent an armed mob.
This is where Donald Trump gave a very different speech.
I know that everyone here will soon be marching over to the Capitol building.
In the dying days of his administration.
And if you don't fight like hell, you're not going to have a country anymore.
Tonight, though, the former prosecutor delivering her closing argument to a crowd of at least 60,000 supporters.
Each of you has the power to turn the page and start writing the next chapter in the most extraordinary story ever told.
It's now been 100 days since Vice President Harris sensationally rose to the top of her party's ticket after an internal pressure campaign to dump President Biden. A brutal election season twist that 7 days out, Donald Trump doesn't want America to forget.
They went in like taking candy from a baby.
Trump still defending his own final address at Madison Square Garden and the controversial opening acts that dialed up the racism and vitriol.
It was like a love fest, an absolute love fest.
What did you make of the Puerto Rican comments?
It wasn't a joke for us. We took it very seriously, and we are going to vote to make sure that we take the real trash out.
As Joe Biden's take,
the only garbage I see floating out there is his supporters.
It's not in line with the message of unity Harris was sending tonight.
For too long, we have been consumed with too much division.
In this 50-50 race.
Are you confident? Yes! Most definitely. Yes! The next president.
In Washington, D.C., David Woywood, 7 News.
And 7 special coverage of the US election begins on Wednesday morning at 9 o'clock.
Perth Airport is undergoing a once-in-a-generation transformation that will change the way you travel. Today it released plans for a new 5-star hotel to be built next to the underground train station. Jeff Parry has the details.
It's a $5 billion vision to turn Perth Airport into an international gateway. Today, the first look at the new hotel. Perth will no longer be the only capital city without one. The Pullman Perth, a 5-star resort with 240 rooms. The Accor project will open in 2027, making life easier for travellers and even more so for pilots and cabin crew who are currently bussed out. The new hotel will be built next to the control tower in what's currently a car park, walking distance to the terminal and train station. A new tarmac is on the way too. Land will be cleared for a 3-kilometre parallel runway, freeing vital slots for takeoffs and landings. The airport is currently tendering for the construction, the first planes set to use it within 3 years. The terminal is being extended too, bringing Qantas and other airlines together into a mega complex. That'll take longer, slated to open in 2031. Construction has already begun on a 6-level car park, the airport urging travellers to be patient.
Sam Jolly joins us now. It wasn't as hot as expected today, Sam.
No, so we were a couple of degrees shy of the forecast, but it was still much warmer than average. We almost made it to 30, 29.9 degrees in the city this afternoon. We did have an early sea breeze, so it cooled off a bit from midday. Ellenbrook and the Swan Valley, though, got to 33 degrees. We had 31 in Jandakot, but once again, a big difference along the coast. 22 the top for Hillary's, 24 in Fremantle, and we had 28 for Baldivis and Mandurah. So we are in a hot weather pattern at the moment, but a cold front will move over the southwest of the state Saturday. It could give us some light showers to kick off the weekend. But before that happens, we have another hot day ahead tomorrow. I'll have the updated forecast right after Sport, Rick and Sue.
Thanks, Sam. There's a word so offensive it can land you in jail overseas.
Now, a Perth council has mistakenly used it. Up next, racist road or a simple misjudgment, the name of a street in Kwinana.
Plus, the chilling warning from Israel as Hezbollah names a new leader.
Reaching for the stars, China's first ever female astronaut takes flight.
How new air travel rules could make it easier for Aussie passengers to get refunds.
And still to come, new evidence that bright lights at night could be taking a serious toll on your health. That's later.
The 7 News app will give you the news you want. Download now.
A developer in Perth South has moved quickly to change a street name, which is a racist slur in South Africa. The Kwinana Council says it was named after a type of lime tree starting with K, but that word is so offensive in South Africa, a person can be jailed for saying it. A 2014 judgment said the obnoxious word caused untold sorrow and pain to the feelings and dignity of the African people.
And I can tell you, the Kwinana Council is not racist. That's a stretch. Just in all likelihood, it's named after a person or a family.
The street hasn't been built yet, so the developer Satterley will submit a new name to council.
Hezbollah's new leader has a target on his back, with Israel warning he won't have the job for long after wiping out most of the terror group's leadership.
Dozens more people have been killed in the latest round of attacks on Lebanon, but there is hope tonight for some form of peace.
Bulldozers removed debris at the site of a devastating Israeli bombardment. 60 people died in this aerial assault on the Carr Valley. dozens more injured, including women and children trapped under levelled buildings. At least 8 more civilians killed in Israeli rocket fire in the southern town of Ardon as the campaign intensifies against militant group Hezbollah. It's appointed its new leader, Sheikh Naim Qassem, recently celebrating the October 7 attacks.
It was an exceptional event. I can say that it was the beginning of the change to the face of the Middle East.
The Shiite cleric served as Hezbollah's second-in-command since 1991, one of the few surviving figures able to succeed assassinated former leader Hassan Nasrallah. Israeli Defence Minister Yoav Gallant ominously tweeting, "Temporary appointment, not for long." The destruction grows in northern Gaza too, an Israeli strike killing 90 Palestinians overnight.
We are witnessing not only a horrific humanitarian nightmare, but a rapidly accelerating and unravelling of the prospects for a sustainable resolution to this conflict.
The IDF claims it's destroyed most of the terrorist infrastructure in Lebanon, opening the door to a withdrawal and possible ceasefire. In London, Ben Downey, 7 News.
China is tonight celebrating the successful launch of its youngest ever space crew to its orbiting space station. The 3-person crew includes China's first female astronaut. She's one of 2 crew members born in 1990. They'll spend 6 months in space, the latest leap in China's aim of sending a mission to the moon by 2030.
American actress Terry Carr has died at the age of 79. She was best known for her comedic roles in Young Frankenstein and Tootsie. The Oscar-nominated actress had been battling multiple sclerosis for more than 20 years. Lisa Kudrow and Michael Keaton are among the stars who paid tribute to her life and career.
A split-second decision to run may have saved these tourists' lives. Extremely violent winds whipped a corrugated iron roof onto a beach in Brazil. The group managed to escape just before it landed right where they'd been standing.
New refund rules are in place for travellers flying to the United States. Cancelled or delayed flights must be refunded by airlines, with deadlines now enforced. Aviation editor Blake Johnson explains.
The new rules are enforced by the US government. They affect all airlines flying to or from the States, including Qantas. They must provide automatic refunds to passengers if a flight is delayed or significantly changed. That's defined as 6 hours for international flights. Announcing the new policy, the US Transport Secretary says airlines are required to provide prompt cash refunds without passengers having to ask. The rules enforce a new deadline for reimbursements: 7 days for credit card purchases, 20 days for other payment methods like frequent flyer points. Qantas says it already refunds passengers whose flights are delayed or cancelled, but now it has a set time frame in which to complete those refunds if it's a flight to or from the US.
You're watching 7 News live from Perth. Next, a plea to help our diggers.
The shocking number of ex-servicemen and women sleeping rough. What's standing in the way of a new veterans' housing project?
The death of an elderly woman sparks a warning over eating wild mushrooms.
How this fleet of high-tech drones could reduce power outages this summer.
The century-old precinct set to become an entertainment hub in Perth's southeast.
Plus, the surprising new treatment for migraines. That's next.
Subscribe with Google to The West Australian and never miss a headline. It's simple and secure. 2 taps and you're all set. Explore a world of quality news and journalism from the West. Seamless access, full control, easy to manage. Subscribe with Google to The West Australian.
Construction officially began today on a project set to transform a former hospital into an entertainment destination in Perth's southeast. The century-old Edward Millen precinct in East Vic Park will include a cafe, bar, museum, childcare space and even a petting zoo. It's expected to be completed late next year.
A new housing complex in Cannington is set to help keep veterans off the streets. The state government today announcing a $5 million Lottery West grant towards the project. But tonight there's an urgent plea for the federal government to meet them halfway.
That's a fat $5 million cheque.
Thank you very much.
But the Lottery West grant isn't enough to break ground on desperately needed veteran accommodation. 16 units are planned for Raffaland in Cannington. The total cost, $10 million.
It's $5 million we need from anyone who would like to give it to us. And if that's the federal government, we'll gratefully take it.
Minister, these are your Labor colleagues. Have you talked to Minister Carr?
So look, I'll just point out, it's not just the Labor side at federal government, at federal level. We're approaching a federal election, and I think both sides can consider this project.
The federal government has $24 million set aside to build specialist veteran housing, but it's remaining tight-lipped on what projects it's funding. Ex-service members are almost 3 times more likely to be homeless than the national average.
Tonight, there'll be veterans who are sleeping rough, sleeping in a car, sleeping on a mate's couch, because we don't have somewhere for them to go.
The Cannington site will be known as the Andrew Russell Veterans Living Centre in honour of a Perth-based SAS soldier killed in action.
My daughter only has the stories and the photos that I can share with her. Don't let any other child lose a parent through veteran suicide, through homelessness.
Lucy Murray, 7 News.
There are calls for better health warnings after a wild mushroom meal killed a 98-year-old woman in Melbourne. The great-grandmother thought she was safe, but unwittingly ate death cap mushrooms foraged from her front yard.
A home-cooked meal with a fatal end. The elderly resident of this Bayswater home unknowingly serving death cap mushrooms for a family dinner.
They do look like some of the mushrooms that you can buy at your greengrocer or at your supermarket.
In April this year, the 98-year-old woman and her son ate a meal containing mushrooms they'd found growing in their garden and didn't fall ill. But 1 month later, after preparing and eating the same meal, both began vomiting.
You can have multiple species of mushrooms growing in the same location. 1 month you might have one species of mushroom appearing. The next month you might have another species of mushroom occurring in that exact same location.
After several days in hospital, the grandmother was brought here to Eastern Health in Wantirna for palliative care. 2 days later, she passed away.
In the last 15 years, we've had 14 known deaths from mushroom poisoning in Australia.
Erin Patterson, who is accused of murdering 3 people by serving them a deadly mushroom meal, will stand trial next year. The state coroner has called for greater public education about the dangers of wild mushrooms.
We are always looking for opportunities to push the messaging further, and we'll definitely take the recommendations from the coroner.
Estelle Grey-Pink, 7 News.
There's hope tonight for the more than 5 million Australians suffering from crippling migraines. The latest research reveals Botox is not only one of the most effective treatments, but also one of the cheapest.
Debbie Levy has been suffering from chronic migraines for 44 years.
They can be quite debilitating. I can stay in bed for 2 days if I don't treat it properly.
Set off by stress, tiredness or even too much activity, Debbie turned to Botox 4 years ago to alleviate her crippling episodes.
I used to get a lot of brow burning migraines, and that's reduced that almost to a zero.
It's not the only treatment available. New monthly injections are also seeing positive results.
They're blocking a chemical called CGRP, which is the main chemical in the brain that triggers the migraine process.
But new research has found Botox is the most effective.
It's affordable and it's got a Medicare rebate and it costs a couple of $100s to have it done.
To qualify for the Medicare rebate for Botox and new injections, sufferers must experience chronic migraines, which is defined as 8 migraine days a month and 15 headache days a month.
Only a neurologist can inject them, and you need to have failed or have contraindications to 3 other oral, so tablet medications.
For some, they can provide more than just temporary relief.
It can actually be a longer lasting or more permanent fix.
Samantha Heathwood, 7 News.
Western Power will unleash a fleet of drones in the fight to protect its poles and wires this coming bushfire season. The 24 unmanned aerial vehicles and 63 pilots are cheaper than helicopters. They'll be used to inspect the electricity network across the southwest of the state. Larger drones will spray silicon to reduce the chance of pole top fires.
It means we can find faults a lot quicker than driving along endlessly to try and locate issues. And generally it's a more efficient use of time for our crews.
Less faults means less interruption to power.
And next on 7 News, a second-hand car safety surprise.
Why older cars are still performing well. Find out which used vehicles just keep on keeping on.
Plus, a strike force bandit breakthrough. More than 40,000 Bluey coins seized.
Why switching to a lamp at night instead of bright light could add years to your life.
And coming up in sport, more on North Melbourne's deal to play home games in WA. Plus, Andy Brayshaw and Shea Bolton hit the track, and a pair of Eagles head overseas on an injury mission.
Shervo's Big Scare. The Halloween prank gone wrong. And the Sunrise hosts' chilling revenge. Start with Sunrise.
Now, Fuel Watch. Perth's petrol prices brought to you by Fuel Watch and 7 News.
The ASX 200 has closed down 69 points. Both major supermarkets fell after Woolworths issued its profit warning. Gold is trading above $2,700 an ounce. Iron ore is $103 a tonne. One Australian dollar is currently buying 65.56 US cents and 10,300 Indonesian rupiah.
We have remarkable vision now of a vehicle crash test pitting a Chinese ute against a Holden Classic. It comes with the release of new used car safety ratings, highlighting high performers at low prices.
Colliding head-on. It's not high speed. In fact, these two utes were travelling at 64 kilometres an hour, but one fares far better.
You can see that the Colorado much safer than the Great Wall.
The Chinese-made ute rated just 1 star or very poor in this year's used car safety ratings, compared to the 4-star Colorado, and it's not hard to see why.
You're much more likely to sustain severe chest injuries and lower limb injuries in the Great Wall.
This year's ratings out today rank 400 vehicles. Top picks include later models of the Volkswagen Touareg, Mazda 3 and Toyota Camry. Among the worst performers, early models of the Ford Fiesta, Hyundai Accent and Holden Commodore.
They demonstrate dramatically how on the same budget you might get a very different safety result.
Cars manufactured after 2008 often the best, boasting superior design and more advanced safety features.
We know that newer cars are safer.
And a newer model doesn't have to break the bank. More than half of the safest cars on our roads can be picked up second-hand for less than $10,000.
Bearing in mind people are under financial pressure but still get a far safer deal.
Amber Laidler, 7 News.
A huge haul of stolen limited edition Bluey coins has been discovered in a Sydney storage unit just hours after yesterday's arrest of a third suspect. More than 40,000 coins were recovered after Strike Force Bandit executed a search warrant. That's 2/3 of the original haul stolen from a warehouse in July.
A load of rubbish has burst into flames while being driven through the streets of Sydney. It took 7 minutes for the driver to find a safe place to unload it. Once he did, he discovered the cause was a lithium battery dumped inside an apartment recycling bin. Luckily, no one was injured.
Turning off the lights earlier in the night and using softer lamps throughout your home could add years to your life. That's according to Australian researchers urging us to make the switch. Don't miss that story soon on 7 News.
But first, Ryan is back with more sport. And Ryan, those North Melbourne games, what a deal for WA.
Sue and Rick, it is a major breakthrough for the Eagles, for the Dockers and, of course, for Bunbury and the Southwest. Details on how it'll work straight after the break. Plus, Andy Brayshaw on his future and training with Shea Bolton. And a pair of Eagles head overseas determined to bulletproof their bodies.
Subscribe with Google to The West Australian and never miss a headline. It's simple and secure. 2 taps and you're all set. Explore a world of quality news and journalism from the West. Seamless access, full control, easy to manage. Subscribe with Google to The West Australian.
As we told you earlier, Fremantle and West Coast have had a big win with the AFL fixture, with North Melbourne to play 2 home games in WA from next season, and one of them will be in Bunbury. The deal will be signed for 3 seasons, locking in 6 games and more than $6 million for North. The Roos will travel to WA in the middle of next season, stay for 2 weeks and play 2 games. They'll host West Coast and Fremantle, with one of those games to be played at Optus Stadium, the other in our southwest at Bunbury's Hands Oval. And that's the key to this deal, as it ties in with WA Tourism, promoting direct flights from Melbourne to Busselton. The game at Optus will see the Roos earn around $1.2 million, and the state government contribution for the southwest game will take North's purse over the $2 million mark per year. The Eagles look set to play in the Bunbury game against the Roos next year, with Freo to head down south the following season. Upgrades and temporary stands will see Hands Oval host a crowd of around 15,000. Fremantle Dockers Vice-Captain Andrew Brayshaw is closing in on a new long-term deal with the club. As talks continue between Brayshaw's management and Freo, the midfield star caught up with his newest teammate in Melbourne.
Toorak is the Peppermint Grove of Melbourne, and what a wealth of talent Fremantle now have with Andy and Bolts.
Yeah, it was good. We had the new recruit training with us, pretty special to see.
And the experts agree, believing Shea Bolton could be the final piece to Freo's premiership puzzle.
What's Shea going to add to the group at the Dockers?
A bit of flair, hopefully a lot of goals, to be able to kick as many as he has at Richmond. It's going to be great. We've got a few really good key forwards that'll bring it to ground, and he'll be able to mop it up and kick heaps of goals. So I'm really excited to see what he can do. He's clearly pretty talented. We were just doing some pretty short and sharp ball movement sort of stuff, and he was, looked really light on his feet, reads the ball really well, and I'm just keen to be playing with him.
A poor finish to the season robbed the Dockers of finals. It was a real kick in the guts.
Definitely burns. We thought we were good enough last year to play against anyone, and to miss out left a sour taste in the mouth. So, when you add Bolton into the list, and we've got a lot of young players that are all developing, I think we're going to be really good next year.
But with a historic first flag on his agenda, Brayshaw says a contract extension is not far away.
It's coming along nicely. Had a chat with my manager not too long ago, and he's in talks with the footy club, so hopefully it gets done soon.
That's where you want to be?
Yeah, very happy.
And Fremantle are keeping their eye on a son of a gun. 20-year-old Jaron Carr is in their sights. The son of Matt Carr, who played 134 games for the club, alongside Jaron's uncle Josh. Adrian Barrage, 7 News.
West Coast Eagles captain Oscar Allen and young defender Rhett Bazzo have gone to Qatar in an effort to build up their bodies ahead of the pre-season. The pair have battled injury in recent seasons and will work with renowned sports physiotherapist Enda King. It's the same trip undertaken by teammates Jeremy McGovern and Elliot Yeo last year, which saw the pair finish top 2 in the Club Champion Awards. King's Aspetar is the real deal. It's treated some of the biggest names in sport, including Lionel Messi, David Beckham, Kylian Mbappe and NBA star Joel Embiid. Teenager Sam Constas will have to wait for his next chance to impress Test selectors. West Aussies Marcus Harris and Cameron Bancroft are set to open the batting for Australia A against India A when the game begins in Mackay tomorrow. Captain Nathan McSweeney is also in the mix for the vacant Aussie opening spot.
As a kid, your dreams to play for Australia and get a baggy green, and it's a great opportunity, no doubt. I guess what will be, will be.
19-year-old Constas is expected to play the second game against India A at the MCG starting next week. And Andrew McDonald's contract as Australian coach has been extended through to the end of 2027. Anytime you can match a record set by Ricky Grace, it's an amazing feat. That's what will happen for Wildcats captain Jesse Wagstaff this Friday night when he runs out for his 482nd game for the club, equalling Ricky Grace.
A huge privilege. It's obviously this club means so much to me and my family, and a huge honour.
All things going well, Wagstaff will then break the record on Sunday against the Southeast Melbourne Phoenix. Cam Smith has redemption on his mind back home this summer. The Aussie will tee off at the Queensland PGA this week, hoping for valuable practice ahead of the Australian Open and PGA Championships.
I didn't have the best prep going into last year. I probably had 2 months off before I got down here, and I would say I've got the most pressure on me out of everyone. I think, like you said, a lot of people are expecting me to come down here and just win.
Smith missed the cut at the Australian PGA last year and hasn't won an individual event in 2024. Now, guys, before I go, I want to show you one of the more bizarre things I have ever seen on a sporting field. With the New York Yankees on the brink of World Series defeat, two rowdy New Yorkers overstepped the mark in a big way in Game 4 against the LA Dodgers this morning.
Check this out. He jumps in, he catches it, and then watch them wrestle with his glove.
Can't do that.
That is absurd. The catch was deemed fair. The two fans ejected, but the Yankees did win the game 11-4. And safe to say, Rick and Sue, those guys won't be at a live baseball game for a very long time.
Can't see that happening.
Thanks, Ryan. Well, bright nights and dark days are increasing your chances of an early grave.
Australian researchers have found our lighting habits are throwing our body clocks out and damaging our well-being.
It's a simple switch that could add years to your life.
People are a lot more sensitive to light than we previously thought.
Researchers at Flinders University studied more than 13 million hours of light recordings from 89,000 people and found using bright lights at night is dimming our life expectancy.
People who had very bright light exposure during the night had about a 30% increased risk of dying per year.
Here's why the big light should be banned. Much better. How are you supposed to relax in this? So much better, in my opinion.
The big light is a big problem, disrupting circadian rhythms, which can lead to various health issues, including diabetes, obesity, and cardiovascular disease.
We seem to function best when we get very bright days, as much sunlight as you can, and very dark nights.
So you really want to aim for warm lighting, so that creates more of an ambient mood, nice and calming and nice and soft.
Dimming or turning off the overhead lights and opting for softer lamps of an evening will not only keep your body clock on track, but can also help get the kids to bed earlier.
Kids are very sensitive to these effects of light. We should embrace the darkness.
And avoid lights out. Georgia Holland, 7 News.
Sam Jolly's back and we have a hot one tomorrow, Sam.
We're expecting 33 degrees tomorrow, Rick, and it will be our last hot day for a while with rain forecast early weekend. I'll have the forecast next.
Tonight, more on that deadly crash at a Melbourne primary school. We'll cross for the latest. Win or lose the legal fights set to come out of the US election. What's in store? We talk to an expert. And a daredevil flies into the record books. That's the latest tonight after 11.
Welcome back. It wasn't quite as hot as expected today in the city. We made it to almost 30 degrees. It was still a lot hotter than normal though at 29.9. Ellenbrook and the Swan Valley got to 33 degrees. We had 31 in Jandakot. But once again, there was a really big difference along the coast. 22 was the top for Hillary's. We had 24 for Fremantle and 28 in Rockingham and Baldivis. Right now it's dropped to 22 degrees in the city and the winds are southwesterly. So we are in a hot weather pattern at the moment, but a cold front is going to move over the southwest of the state on Saturday. It could give us some light showers to kick off the weekend. Taking a look at the national forecast, a shower or two for Melbourne tomorrow. We have showers easing in Sydney, a wet 31 for Brisbane, and then it's looking mostly sunny with a top of 25 in Adelaide. And statewide tomorrow, showers for Kununurra, a hot 43 degrees for Marble Bar and for Paraburdoo. We have 34 in Geraldton. It's windy in Albany and 23 for Esperance. And on local waters, we have east to southeasterly winds, 15 to 20 knots tomorrow. They are turning southerly in the late morning. The seas and the swell peaking at around 1.5. So we do have a warm low of 15 tonight before a hot and sunny 33 degrees tomorrow. Then it starts to cool down. We have a partly cloudy 27 on Friday. And for the weekend, we actually have a medium chance of morning showers Saturday, a top of 21 degrees. Partly cloudy and 22 on Sunday. 23 Monday, then a shower or two Tuesday and Wednesday, 22. And we have a huge milestone tonight. Happy 70th wedding anniversary to Jean and James Churchman of Menora. They have 3 children, 5 grandchildren and 2 great-grandchildren. Congratulations. Now for tonight's winning lotto numbers. They are 6, 11, 7, 35, 3, 28 and the sups are 5 and 44. That's 6, 11, 7, 35, 3, 28 and the supplementaries 5 and 44. Sue and Rick.
Thanks, Sam, and that's 7 News live across WA. We'll be back with updates for you throughout the evening.
Thanks for joining us. You can see more at 7news.com.au. Enjoy the rest of your Wednesday night here on 7.